Hoo-wee! I'm here. I am here, ladies and gentlemen. You need not worry. You need not be concerned. Frico is here. Frico is here to guide you through the tough parts of Coronaville, really. I'm here to document everything everything in the world that happens as a result of Coronaville. That's my humble task. I'm probably only going to cover about 1 gazillionth of it, but I'm going to make the attempt anyway, even though I know I can only cover a gazillionth of it, to cover everything. And right from the start, I'm going to be very selective in what I cover, which means I'm not covering everything. So we're going to do Frico Talks the News to get ready to do our little... Let's do our little warm-up here for you folks that might find this useful. Oh. Well, that's not right. That is inappropriate. Oh, that's right. I know what. I went to the wrong place. You know what I need to do, ladies and gentlemen? I need to do the walkthrough. I'm trying to get this walkthrough down. Not off to a good start when I forgot. No, you got to do your website walkthrough. You got to figure out how to do this in a smooth way. This isn't how you do it in a smooth way. So we're getting our content, all of our content from all of our sites. They're gathered on Frico.com. But where does that content originally come from? The content comes from across the webosphere in multiple ways and paths that only I know. It's an ancient Chinese secret, literally. And I go to Newsalite, and I have the glitz, the odd, the under the radar, the hard to believe news at a glance. These are the links. Basically, these are news excerpt links. Or, excuse me, these are just... link aggregates. I couldn't think of the word aggregates. So these are the link aggregates for that type of content. And then I select 10 of those that go on over to Frico.com. They go to over Obamacare.tv. We got free market social engineering for the masses. Get a little link aggregation down there. And I send 10 of those back over to Frico.com. Then finally I hit Pioneering News. That's Tech Science Underground News links, a lot more stuff that I go through. This is my main news aggregate site, really. So I send not 10, but 12 stories from Pioneering News on over to Frico.com, and then I narrow those stories down to the top, not the top 14 stories, but the top 14 stories that enable me to sing whatever song I'm going to sing to you that day, because that's what we do here. Frico talks the news, but really, I'm singing a song through news. This is one song. And maybe the whole thing is one song, or maybe each of these episodes are one song. I'm not sure. But that's where we're at. So before we get to the... Well, I'll tell you what. Let's do this part here. We'll do this part here. I'll tell you what. That's a transition I'll make. I'm going to do the introduction right now. Autumn Leaves Will Kill Us. This is the name of the episode for today, for Thursday, April 16th, 2020. On this episode, we'll get just a little spit is all it will take for this Coronaville test. Catalonia declares independence from Spain. That's our feature. That transplant makes the donor the father. The autumn leaves snap with new intelligence Digitalis. That's our news poem. They tell the Donald the terrorist will kill us if we don't stop 3D printed guns, and will last. And the way we end just about every episode, rethinking the remote dependence, the cost of interdependence. That's our dialectical. And I do want to add, I am going to be working in some stuff where I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the villages, some of the communities that I've been designing that have this. What I've talked about on the show often about basically redesigning the way that we live so that we're kind of, well, we'll find the practical necessity for developing more consensual, more lasting, deeper, significant relations with the folks around us. And when that happens, then we'll start to see adults start to show up again. Because right now, we live in a land of children. We're watching children try to handle a Coronaville, Coronaville. They're trying to handle Coronaville, and all they have is crayons and colored papers. That's all they have. And they know how to make paper airplanes out of papers, but crude ones at that. That's about what we got. That's what we're dealing with. So anyway, I'll work that way, that in there eventually as we go along. I wanted to do it earlier, and I don't know. I haven't figured out a nice way to do it yet. I'll figure it out. So, Get the Frico Talks Daily delivered to your email at frico.com/daily. If you sign up for the email, then you get the whole show thing mailed to you every day. So you see everything in addition to what's on the show, by the way. There's other things that you get too that you don't get, that don't make it on the show, because there's plenty of stories out there, even really big stories, that don't make it on the show because they're not part of the song I'm singing that day. So with that, I'm about ready to sing the song, so that means some of you, when you hear people sing, you're like, wait a second, is he allowed to say that? So here you go.
Warning, the material you're about to be exposed to is one of the minds of individuals who are limited in their capacity to understand the actual reality of power around them, just as you and everyone else alive currently are. What you're about to hear are opinions, suppositions, like gospel or scientific truths, not infallible certainties. Brace yourself for incoming opinions that could confirm or deny your preferential view of the reality of power. Brace yourself for fallible material, fallible opinions, and values reflected, but nonetheless variably firmly held. We do not apologize to anyone we may offend. We do not apologize for daring to express our views and impressions of what we believe is and what we hope to see. We will keep talking so long as we are able.
And now, Frico attempts to talk about the news without freaking out.
That's the plan, ladies and gentlemen. That is always the plan. What I hope to do here today is to do nothing more than extend my world record, Frico's world record, personal world record, but a world record nonetheless, because there's no one ever named Frico who's ever even tried to have this record. I'm sure of it. I'm positive. This will be, if I complete today, it will be 8 days. We're 7 days. Is it 7 days? Maybe. No. Hold on. It'll be 8 days today. It'll be 8 days today, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, it will be 8. So everybody cross your fingers, dot your I's and T's and all that, whatever you got to do to help Frico get through this so that I talk about the news and I don't freak out. And today, there may be some issues. So it's going to be a little bit touchy-basy. So I want to mention nothing more. I want to get right to the headlines. So let's get that set up. And if you're new to the show, during the live stream, I am also recording the segments, so you'll get to see behind the scenes as the professional. Well, Frico prepares to record the segment, which will appear on the YouTube channel Action Batsa. So be sure to subscribe. Action Batsa just means action base, and you'll hear more about that as you listen to the show. All right, so with that, let's begin the recording for our headlines. This is the Talk Headlines. I am Frico of Frico.com, and this is a segment from Frico Talks the News for Thursday, April 16th, 2020. Our top headline for today is, "Just a little spit is all it will take for this Coronaville test." And this is from an excerpt from Rutgers here. FDA grants approval for first saliva-based Coronaville test. The Food and Drug Administration, FDA, has granted emergency use authorization, EUA, to Rutgers' RUCDR Infinite Biologics and its collaborators for a new collection approach that utilizes saliva as the primary test biomaterial for the Coronaville. The first such approval granted by the federal agency. The new saliva collection method, which RUCDR, Rutger, I like that, Rutger. What are the name of the candidates for bouncer? The name of the candidates are Todd, Jerome, got a Jerry, and we got a Rutgerides. Right? I want to be Rutger when I grow up. The new saliva collection method, which Rutger developed in partnership with Spectrum Solutions and Accurate Diagnostic Labs, ADL. Wow, somebody's going to have to sue somebody. Is the Anti-Defamation League? Wow. I'm confused. The Anti-Defamation League. Never mind. accurate diagnostic labs. You're going to get sued. You're going to get sued. You're going to get dropped like a hammer. Listen, these people have lawyers. You're seriously going to be doing that. You're seriously like, yes, lawyers. Let me take on the same letters as lawyers that gut people for a living. Literally, that's what they do. They go out and they find reasons to destroy human beings based upon the gradations of loopholage in the law. They're one of these will sue for hire groups, kind of what these things have devolved into, whatever they were. The ADL, the Southern Poverty Law Center. The Republicans have their own versions too. They're not unique. And it's not just in politics. It's even more in patents, which we've covered. It's this whole idea of going out and finding some legal, even if you don't have a legitimate legal cause, just the fear of the litigation is enough to almost guarantee if you go after 30 people, maybe only one or two will settle with you right away. And you'll make bank on that, though. You'll make bank on that. So you don't do 30, you do 3,000 a week. Something like that. That's what's going on. The whole legal system, there's a lot of this that has been turned into this kind of... and it's not ideational. Whatever ideational things that any of these groups ostensibly represent, it's just influence, which leads to money. And ultimately what you want from money is two things. You want to be able to stride the earth in an infinite sense of power, and you want to be able to influence whoever and whatever you need to influence that assures that no guns are going to be pointed at you. No guns from anyone, whether it's government or anyone else. This is the primary driver that is in most of us. And this is one cottage industry that turned into a mega. It started off with just a few, like ACT UP might have been one of the earliest groups that's kind of, and initially ACT UP, this is pro-gay rights group. I think like almost everything starts with originators who are driven to legitimately deal with an oppression, and then quickly behind them comes the profiteers who turn it into a business, and then it takes on a whole other life of its own. And it happens, and in the world that we have now, for a lot of reasons, it's all the more true, especially because the prizes that we offer now are so much grander than they ever were before. You can, if you have enough money, you can literally be anywhere in the world that you want within 1-2 hours. Well, not anywhere. Any major place in the world that you want within 1-2 hours. In remote areas, you'll get as close as you can within 1 or 2 hours, but then it's a whole other story. But in most mainstream areas, as in areas that have easy access in the world, you can get anywhere you want within 1-2 hours of time. And money's no object. You don't even have to think about it. Who doesn't want to live that life? Right? I don't. I actually don't. I did, but I don't now. And maybe it's because I've so utterly failed in life. I'm not sure. Probably. I'm sure. It's my vehicle of power. My methodology of dealing with my own defeat is by finding a moral construct that makes me special for feeling. So I understand that, but still, I'll allow for it. It offers a measure of comfort for me as I continue on, because you only have two choices: to stop or go. Really, that's what it always comes down to. Is when I came to that revelation, which I really didn't come to until maybe about 6-7 years ago. It really did change the way, a lot of ways, fundamentally how I see things. You just stop or go, no matter what the situation is. You don't kid yourself. If you stop, you chose to stop. You stop until you can't go. That's what you do. And so give yourself your little spooks and whatever you got to do to balm whatever disappointment you have in life. That's natural. That's normal. It's what we all do, almost all of us. This is all very important and totally relevant to the story, of course, but this is what you get on Freako. This is the show. This is what you'll always get. The impact of this approval is significant, said Andrew Brook, Chief Operating Officer and Director of Technology Development. Oh, I already read all this. That's right. And I said Rookter. No, wait. I didn't think I read this. Never mind. I didn't read this yet. I get to say Rookter again. All right. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. Back it up. We're going to read this sentence because I know I get to see something. I get to say something fun. I like saying fun things. The impact of this approval is significant, said Andrew Brooks, subjectively speaking, Chief Operating Officer and Director of Technology Development at Rookter, who also is a professor in the School of Arts and Sciences Department of Genetics at Rutgers University, New Brunswick. It means we no longer have to put healthcare professionals at risk for infection by performing nasopharyngeal, nailed it, or oropharyngeal, nailed it collections. We could preserve precious personal protective equipment for use in patient care instead of testing. Yeah, baby. That's what we do. That's what we do. We can significantly increase the number of people tested each and every day, and that is what it's all about. It's all about getting as many people tested and start to map out, but you got to do it in ways in which the ultimate holder of such databases is not the government or one massive corpo state. It's got to be local levels. It's got to be run by locals, like quickly. Can we do this? Can we just have it? And then afterwards, you go through a scrubbing where you make sure that the database has no personal data connected to it other than the aggregates that would be valuable to know for future encounters with coronavilles, if that is to be the case. All right. I've already gone a little bit on this story, so I could speak a lot more on the story, but I'm trying to discipline myself because this is a headline, and we're going to remember headlines get so much time. They're not the tops. The tops of the dialectals, the poems, and the features generally. Subjectively speaking, of course. But anyway, you don't need to know about any of this, but you do. You do. It's part of the show. Michiganders say no to Coronaville shutdown and traffic jam revolts. No, I forgot I was the one that wrote the headline. That's right. By the way, these are called headlines because all I change on these are I write the headlines. I write my own headlines. That's the only change that I do for these. Other than this is just an excerpt from the stories there. Well, that's why I cite them and whatnot. But that's right. That's what yeah. So these are the stories that, by the way, the headlines are generally the stories that are kind of headlinery type stories, like the more, but I don't necessarily still, for me, I've decided I don't, like if I was going to put the biggest top stories out there, that they wouldn't, this might make it, this probably would not make it, and this would not make it either. Definitely this would not make it. But that's not how I do things here. That's not how I do things. But these are headline-y type stories, kind of. They're more, generally, at least they're supposed to be more simple, straightforward stories. Yeah, that's the theory. Michiganders say no to Coronaville shutdown and traffic jam revolt. And this is an excerpt from NBC News. Anti-Whitmer Coronaville lockdown protesters swarmed Michigan Capitol. Thousands of demonstrators descended on the state capitol in Lansing, Michigan on Wednesday to protest Governor Gretchen Whitmer's restrictive stay-at-home order, clogging the streets with their cars while scores ignored organizers' pleas to stay inside their vehicles. Now, I'm disappointed about this. I'm glad that they did this. I'm very, very glad, because we need to remind the government that it's not a one-way conversation that's going on here, that this is supposed allegedly to be of the people, by the people, for the people. Protest and being armed protesters, that's fundamentally part of America. An America that doesn't have that is China. And we don't want to be China. We don't want to be the CCP. So I'm very, very glad that these folks showed up. But what I'm really not glad about is that so many people chose to make this about Trump when they showed up. This should not have been. Somebody should have sent the message out. Listen, this needs to be an American expression, not a Trump America. Trump America is not America. That's just one faction. There's many factions, and we need calls to all our factions. It's not just Trump America. And to take this is a pretty significant moment, and to put Trump stuff out there. And I know that the majority of them actually didn't do this, but it was a significant. They were visible enough to make it pretty easy for their opposition, their opposing factions, even conservative, whatever, to make this really look more like a bunch of Trumpians going out and look at me, love Trump. That's not what it's supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about. Yeah, it's not about Donald Trump. I mean, why are you on Donald Trump's side here anyway? Donald Trump is on the scale of authoritarianism so far in Coronaville. He's low, but he's still high enough for me. I got plenty of issues with Donald Trump and how he's used authority and the decisions that he's made and how much power he's given to these science eggheads. Yeah, I got a problem with that. I think that yeah, he's not in my good guy camp on this. He's one of those that has to be held accountable, I think, in the end. However you do that, whatever, nobody's going to be held accountable, but in Frico's mind, and I have to tell myself that because I do want to get that day 8 record of not freaking out. I really want it. And it's really hard right now because it just so angers me. It so angers me. I believe that there are significant numbers of Americans who are more than happy to come to terms with one another across a lot more varieties than you folks imagine. Whether it's race, sex, gender, religion, all manners of things that we imagine we have to come to blows on. Even if we're talking about what kind of healthcare system we are going to have, or it's going to be single payer, whatever, whatever does not fundamentally violate the Bill of Rights is negotiable. Whatever violates the Bill of Rights is non-negotiable. We do not control guns in America. We do not control speech in America. For anyone. Black America, you are being targeted and made victims every day by unjust, racist gun control laws aimed squarely at you by the Democrat Party with Republican consent. As a matter of fact, Ronald Reagan, as a Republican governor in California, was one of the first folks to show this innovative way that they could limit the rights of others, when he was the one who banned assault weapons in California in 1968 with one specific target in mind: the Black Panthers. It was a racist law. Much of gun control laws are the earliest examples are based in making sure that black slaves didn't have guns, and then when the blacks were freed, making sure blacks didn't have guns. That's when gun laws started to become important, because they wanted to make sure blacks didn't have guns. That's with the birth of gun laws. Gun laws are fundamentally racist. Talk about your institutional racism. It is unjust and unfair that I live outside of these zones where so many black Americans have been trapped by institutional racism and many other ways. That these folks are trapped in these areas where they need guns more for their own protection, because the cops aren't protecting them. They haven't been. The cops only show up to shake them down and drag their kids off to basically work camps. That's what prison has become, their work camps, for holding a dime bag of weed, and they end up in prison for 2 years and come back out and get caught later for holding maybe holding some crack or something, and they go in for another 5 years, and they go out, and then they get found with maybe some more weed, and 3-strike law, they're in forever. Like, that's what Black America is experiencing. Inordinately more than any other community. These gun control laws, these drug control laws, so many laws. The thing about laws is they end up being most easily enforced amongst captive audiences, and the captive audiences are almost always the examples that they show to the rest of the communities that they really can't control like they can these captive audiences. So I would love to have seen Black Americans come out from the cities in support of this. Black Americans with guns. Yeah, I want to arm Black America. That's my dream. I want all of Black America to be armed at least as well as white America, so that no Tulsas will ever happen again. Yeah, no gun control laws for me. But there is a whole host of policies and whatnots that I am more than happy to follow along with whatever y'all decide. I'm not going to be voting. I don't want to participate in voting. But outside of making sure that my government doesn't at least mind itself across the Bills of Rights, outside of that, I'm willing to go along with whatever you guys decide. Seriously, however you want to do healthcare, if you want to do single-payer healthcare, if you want to have private companies, whatever, y'all decide that. Just across the board, whether you're in the market or in the state, you honor the Bills of Rights of your neighbors, essentially. And I believe that if I could somehow get this message out to more people, and they began to pragmatically think about their real station in life, their real ability to control anything around them, they're going to come to understand that the people who need the Bills of Rights the most are the very people that right now there's a faction in America that is selling them a bill of goods. It is saying the only way that we can stop racism is by destroying the Bill of Rights. When it's the black community more than anyone else that needs their Bills of Rights restored. They've been violated across the board since they've been here, really. So we need to free Black America and end all of the laws that fundamentally prevent them from being their own stewards of their lives, like so many others of us. Like, I have the capacity during this lockdown, which more like what it feels, this lockdown, I have more capacity to provide for myself for reasons that have a lot to do with me not being in a zone where my actions are significantly more restricted than they are where most of Black America lives. Black America lives under very different rules and laws than most of white America. We have much more lax laws where we live, much more ability to be our own stewards of our lives. Black America, unless and until you destroy the ghettos, get them out of there, or have the ghettos transformed into something that doesn't look like ghettos, whatever the case might be, something that looks like individuals who can be stewards of their lives. You're always going to have this pool of voters for government control, because they have no other choice, because without that government feeding them, they die. And they are in that situation mostly because of the institutional racism that is continuing to be compounded on them. An institutional racism which has guilty parties on all sides, including their own leaders of their own black community, their own black leaders of their own black communities who are complicit in the continued fleecing of their own communities. All right, I went on too long there. Well, let's go on to this one, last one here. Trump dollars magically multiply to millions for lucky man. This is an excerpt from WYRK.com. Man waiting for stimulus payment notices $8 million deposited to his bank account. Dude, keep your mouth shut. Dude. According to WIVB, an India man... I'm just kidding. I'd never condone doing anything that would be violent of any kind of ordinance or law or decree of our dear government. I apologize. According to WIVB, an Indiana man was expecting a stimulus payment of $1,700. Okay, so he's a single father. Immediately. He's a single father. Was expecting a stimulus payment of $1,700 to be deposited into his bank account. Weird how that number means immediately. Single father, woman, single mother. Yeah, it's kind of cool. That's called research. That's called like Sherlock Holmes in it. I'm just kidding. That's not what volunteer firefighter Chris Calvin found, however, when he went to take money out of the ATM. I went to the ATM at the Family Express, and once I withdrew $200 out of my account, I looked at the available balance still left in my account. It said his available balance remaining was $8.2 million. And then I proceeded to tell the world about it so that I no longer had $8.2 million, because that's why I'm a single father. You know? I'm just saying. I'm just kidding, Chris. You did the right thing. I'm just kidding. I am just kidding. You know what? Hold on. Turn down the money for the glory. God bless you, Chris. God bless you, Chris. I don't know, man. $8.2 million, man. $8.2 million. Ooh-wee, that would lie. I'd buy a lot of bacon. A lot of bacon. I think I would buy $8.2 million worth of bacon. And I would distribute it to my closest family and friends and associates and fans, because I got a lot of fans. He has no fans. And I would keep them supplied with bacon throughout Coronaville. And then after Coronaville was over, I would sell the remaining bacon back. And I would get triple the amount of bacon money that I put in for reasons. This part of the plot might have a flaw. I may have ended up buying high and selling low, but it'll be worth it. It'll be worth it. I'm sure in the end I'm still going to end up with probably like, I don't know, at least $1 million left. Even if I take the hit, I'm still going to end up with $1 million cash at the end. So then with the $1 million cash, then I'm going to buy more bacon. See? Good plan. Good plan. Wait a second. I got to think about that one. That might not be good. You know what? It doesn't matter. That's the end of the segment. This is the 4 o'clock segment, if you're watching the excerpts being played on the YouTube channel on the Action Batza. The 5 o'clock segment is going to be the talk feature, and the talk feature is going to be Catalonia declares independence from Spain. That's what we're going to talk about in the talk feature. Woo! Well, that's the talk feature. I got the talk feature done. Now I did a feature segment, and I think these feature segments are going to be, for the most part, pretty short. This will be like the shortest segment of all of the segments will be the feature segment. But I got this lined up, so let me clear myself for a second here. Because that's how you do it. I think you'd rather hear the silence than the noises that were being made as I cleared my throat and gathered my innards back into the upper echelon of my body so the blood returned back to my head and I could stop seeing the visions that I was seeing. And I don't want to tell you what I saw in the visions because this is a family show. There were no visions, by the way. I just made that up. This is the talk feature for Frico Talks the News on Thursday, April 16th, 2020. I am Frico with Frico.com, and our feature for today, there you see this picture, and you see this, that's Española, and then you see lingering over it, look at that, it's a fuse, it's a bomb. That's the flag of Catalonia. That's the story. Catalonia. I have a soft place. I definitely have a bias towards Catalonia. I'll just make it clear. I've been following Catalonia and its story since I've been doing all the shows that I've been doing over the last 5-6 years. Catalonia has been a regular part of what I've been tracking. I continue to track Catalonia. Catalonia has long been wishing to separate from larger Spain. The Spanish Civil War of 1934 that Hitler used to test the efficiency of his Luftwaffe, and also the same one that inspired the painting by Pablo Picasso called Guernica, was centered around a leftist anarchist Catalonian secessionist attempt. Catalonia achieved a measure of autonomy and self-rule, and I said a couple of years, I'm not sure, it may have been, I'm not sure. There was a period of time before it started where they were actually existing in this. There's debate as to what happened and what didn't happen, the degree to which they were authentically non-state and who used any type of authoritarian tactics or not. So there's some debate. But in general, this is a non-state experiment. That's what interested me about it. It's a non-state experiment in governance. And I think they did get some things right and maybe they got some things wrong. But ultimately, whatever the full outcome of it would have been, the powers that be, these would be Franco and Hitler, made sure that Catalonia didn't get its independence. And Guernica essentially documented the leveling. Tens of thousands of people that were killed in the bombing of Guernica by German Luftwaffe. It pretty much ended it for Catalonia. It was massive death. So the mood of Catalonians hasn't improved since Guernica and was exasperated when Carlos Puigdemont, his parliament, held a referendum to vote for independence. Well, after arrest, thuggings, an attempted referendum, another referendum, which, well, it was a mess. And Puigdemont ends up arrested. Lots of stuff happened. And a clampdown from Madrid on Catalonia's pre-Puigdemont self-rules powers. So the Catalonians were fighting for more self-rule, and the response after these referendums was to remove their self-rule powers. The Catalonians are back to make another attempt at forging their own identity apart from Spain. Here's an excerpt from The Guardian. Catalan declaration greeted with tears of joy and trepidation. When the Catalan parliament declared independence, Elade Jaume, I don't know how you say that, Elade Jaume was surprised to find himself weeping with joy at the heart of 1,000-strong crowd in central Barcelona. No, Barcelona. They say Barcelona. I cried and I didn't expect it. It's the first time I have cried for politics, although I'd say it was actually more for love of life, he said with a huge grin. That's interesting. That's interesting, yeah. Hours later, it's really telling. That's not many people would say that sentence, I bet. I cried and I didn't expect it. It's the first time I have cried for politics. That's really telling. That's a really revealing little few words that someone could utter to another human being in an interview. Although I'd say it was actually more for love. And then that follows up. This is one of those little touches in movies. The movies that really do it well, where every character, even the casual one that just walks by, there's something that happens that there's a character there. There's some significance to that character, and this is really telling. It's an interest. I didn't expect this sentence. I did read this article already, but a lot of times when I'm reading on here and looking on here, I see things totally different. So I cried and I didn't expect it. It's the first time I have cried for politics. This is a person that's out there celebrating, being part of it. To not be involved in politics and to be a Catalan, that's extraordinary. This person must live a pretty I'm going to say I'm willing to bet probably a fulfilled life. Whatever they do in life, they manage to find a space where they can do it and not feel threatened by the world around them. That's probably what, and it kind of makes me think that might be the case because of what they say there. I'd say it was actually more for love of life, and I think that's what that he was appreciating. I mean, I'm reading a lot into this, but I mean, I don't know. I could I see this as a character in a movie, and this is a little line, and you'd speculate, what this is. It's really cool when you see stuff like this that every once in a while happens. This is, to me, probably like a brief glimpse into someone who had very little artifice and just was speaking plainly without thought. And just, yeah, I love those little moments, even in the middle of a. Well, I'm not sure how this story's going to play out. I'm rather skeptical as to the outcome of this thing, but I certainly, in spirit, hope that the Catalans get to finally figure out who and what they really are on their own terms and can leave the confines of Spain for good and or for ill. Let's find out. Hours later, by which time the Spanish Senate had approved the suspension of Catalan self-rule, he was marching through the streets, celebrating his new country with an estelada flag tied to an impromptu flagpole and preparing, half in jest, to protect its leader from Madrid. "Come to Cadix, Puigdemont, and we will protect you," read the message scrawled on cardboard, an invitation to the Catalan president, who could soon face arrest, to his seaside hometown a couple of hours' drive up the coast. "We are fighters, but we do it peacefully and with respect," said Jaume as dozens of cars and trucks slowed to honk their horns in approval. But his sign was a reminder of the trepidation laced through the elation of independence supporters. Yeah, it's going to be not awesome. I'll just leave it at that. So, that's all we're going to say on that. This has been our 5 o'clock show. Coming up next is our 6 p.m. show, if you're watching on YouTube's Action Bots channel, and that is the Talk Focus show. And that is, or the Talk Focus expert from Frico Talks the News. And the Talk Focus story is going to be that transplant makes the donor the father. That is a fun story, and I can't wait to get to it. Hooey! Hooey, everyone! We're pushing through! So we got the Talk Focus coming up, and then after the Talk Focus, then we get a break. I get a break because this is a hard job that I do here, ladies and gentlemen, man. I'm sweating bullets down here. I'm literally doing this in my basement. It's the only place I could possibly do it, so there is that. But the basement is the best place for a lot of people to set up their studios, so that's what, we live in a basement media. You know what? Oh, my. Does that exist? Seriously, hold on. Basement media. Does it exist? Basement media rooms, basement media productions. 5 tips to turn your basement into a media room. Basement media room, the basement media. The basement media consists of a group of passionate film photographers and graphic professionals who strive to create stunning imagery. Okay. So no. This is amazing. Basement media. Hold on, let me show you this. This is important before we get back to the show. Sorry, wrong thing. You've already been warned. You don't need warned twice. You do not need warned twice. I apologize. Basement media rooms. See this? So this is basement media. Anybody want to go out there and just create this? Create a show called The Basement Media, or an association called The Basement Media that we can all join. All of us that are the Basement Media, we produce media in our basement, or the Basement Media. That is, instead of the alt media or the digital media, or the YouTube. No, we're basement media. We're the basement media. That's what we should be. There you go. I'll never remember this, so if I don't remember this and nobody steals this idea, and I want you to steal it, take it, make it yours. You can even claim it's your idea. I don't care. Somebody please do this. Do basement media for me. Please. Please do basement media. All right, let's get back to our get ready to record our talk focus here. We got to get wait. Just make sure. Did I leave the light on in the feature here? Yes, I did. I left the light on. You hear that? That means I left the light on. Where's the free? Oh, there it is. All right. I don't want to leave the light on. I don't like that. I don't like leaving the light on. The light on to me is when I leave the music on. The music shouldn't be left on. Okay? You don't do that. You leave it off so the next time when I come through, the music is off in advance. I start the music when I start the recording. You guys understand this, right? You get it. You get what's going on here. Like right now, we're about ready to record the talk focus. See, the segment people, they miss out on this comedy gold here. This is pure spitting fire. Spitting fire. Let's do this. Let's do this talk focus. All right, this is the talk focus for Frico Talks the News on Thursday, April 16th, 2020. My name is Frico for Frico.com. Our top focus is a story that when I saw it, I knew immediately. Every once in a while, not always in these types of these Lolzilla type stories. That's what I call them, Lolzilla stories. And I have that domain name, Lolzilla.com. I'll do something with it someday. But these Lolzilla stories, they very rarely do I look at it and think immediately, oh yeah, that's going to be on the show. This one, when I saw it, I was like, that's going to be on the show. That's a show story right there. There's no way I'm not putting that in the show because I want to enjoy this experience with my audience. And I got a lot of you out there now. That transplant makes the donor the father. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, folks. This story messed me up in all kinds of ways. Now, let me give you the super Cliff Notes version of what follows. And I will cover it, but still, I want to set this up. Dude gets bone marrow transplant. Dude gets the DNA of the donor. Dude's semen is now donor's semen. Yep. If dude gets someone pregnant, dude is, how we say, not the father. He is never the father, even if the partner gets pregnant. Stunning and brave. Stunning and brave. Stunning and brave. He's a anti-paternalian. I think he's an anti-paternalian. Can you add that to the rain? What color would that be added to the rainbow? The anti-paternalian gender species, which he is. So it's pretty amazing. This is extraordinary. This to me makes everything worth living. All of the things that I have been suffering through, and all of us have been suffering through with Coronaville, we realize that this exists. This is what we are able to achieve as a species. This is extraordinarily awesome. I would not want this to happen to myself. Well, actually, in my circumstance, I'm not in the business of DNA spreading anymore. I'm firmly entrenched with my wife, and my wife and I, we're past the time of concerns for such issues, if you know what I'm saying. But if I was not in such a circumstance, then that would be a real bummer. But like, wow, that is bizarre. That is like, wow, do you choose? Wow. So this is an excerpt from Truth Theory. 2 different DNA sets in this man are fighting for dominance. Now, I love Truth Theory, but come on. Come on, you're burying the lead. You're so burying the lead. No. This is all about the spermatological factors. That's what this whole story is about. I could have called this sperm hijacked by bone marrow donor. There you go. That's a better title. I should have went with that one. Sperm hijacked by bone marrow donor. So anyway, let's get back to truth theory. Nevada resident Chris Long. Another Chris. That's two Chris's in one show, isn't it? Wasn't that other guy, the billionaire guy, the millionaire guy, Chris? I think so. You know what? I got to find out. We need to know. Because I'm hoping it was. Because that makes this... Where are we at here? Where's his name? Oh, never mind. His name is Charles. Not Chris. Bummer. I wanted some freaky occurrence that could only be explained with some conspiracy about 5G towers. I wanted to work 5G towers into this, and I won't be able to because of that. Dang it. Oh well. Nevada resident Chris Long received a piece of shocking news recently. 4 years ago, Chris was diagnosed with leukemia, for which he had received bone marrow transplant. Chris was recently informed that his body now shares his donor's DNA strand. Boom! Mic drop! Wow, what if his donor's DNA was from his father-in-law? Wait. What if his donor's DNA was from his dad? And so that if he was married and he was having relations with his wife, his father would be the father of his grandson. We have to find out if Chris's father is the donor, and if he is, if Chris is currently engaged in affairs with a female that he would consider his wife. And if so, we need to start the process that we need to start to create the reality show as we launch the show. My grandpa is my dad. The reality show, my grandpa, and it's going to be centered around the kid as the kid grows up, from being created to being born. And they can only have one kid because we can't be sweating on trying. No. I'll tell you what, about eight seasons in, we let him have a second kid because we probably need one by then. Because you need that new blood by then. But until then, just focus on this kid. Boy, girl, whatever the kid turns out to be. That's the show. Make this happen. This is why I was so happy to talk about this story, because I knew it would inspire in me the kind of gold that surely someone out there could turn into to success and make that show for me. I want to see it on Netflix within the next 2 years. Someone take that idea, steal it from me, make that show happen. Make it happen. Come on, the psychological woo-woo-woo's up in there. Come on, that's going to be a show. I want that show. And if it isn't his circumstance, then he just lost the money. We just make it all fiction now. We're just going to we're going to, you know what? We'll find someone and make it this happen. Find someone, and now you could have a woman. A woman could be the one with the DNA, and it could be her mom. Whatever, but we've got to do this. I want to see the show. Now, I prefer it if he's the one. If this works out. Chris Long. And I'm not going to check and try and find out, because if I did, my dream dies today. I'd rather keep it alive. I'd rather have it in the ether of the possible. And 2 years from now, I see the show. My dad is my grandpa. And I know I did that. And only I need to know it, and that's fine. All right. Next story. Microsoft's big brain solution to all the world's ills. Meet the planetary computer. Microsoft is working a new supercomputer network of stuff that will allegedly figure out all the interconnectedness of the world to create models for sustainability that I assume they will eventually wish to see executed in the physical, in the here, in the now. The melange of AI and machine learning networks and blockchain exchanges will be able to tell humans how to save the planet. Thank God. And here I thought the answer was just 42. At this point, I kind of wish that's what this beast comeback would be as well. They create this thing. They punch in all the numbers and they go, all right, how do we tell people how to live so that a world is made in our image? Because that's what they're really talking about. How do we do that? And the machine comes back and says, 42. What? What are you talking about? Wait, how is that the answer? It's the right answer. Your question is wrong, bro. Go back. Come back in another 1,000 years. That's what I want to see. I want to see that. But that's not what's going to happen. It's going to come back with all kinds of predictability models. And certainty glitter is basically what it is. It's certainty glitter, because in the end, it's mostly just glitter. Microsoft's new, this is excerpt from TechCrunch, Microsoft's new planetary computer project will use global environmental data to support sustainability. Doesn't that sound like such a... They're like, we will take all of the data of the world and we will be the ones that will share with you. Microsoft, a software company. Microsoft, a software company. A software company. They make Windows. Software company is going to build a machine that's going to tell us all how to live. Exactly what we need to do. And it'll have all the authority of, hey, the planetary computer said it. The planetary, if you don't listen, if you're not doing anything wrong, the planetary computer's not going to have a problem with what you're doing. Just saying. Microsoft is embarking on a new sustainability initiative as part of its overall approach to support environmental protection measures with a project it calls the Planetary Computer. This will actually be a computing endeavor that uses aggregated global environmental data collected from a number of sources. Sources. Boy, there's a lot of scariness behind that phrase. There's a lot of massive there's a lot of sources. Government, financial, you know it, or you name it. We're talking about massive amounts of data sets. The fact that I checked my bank account 3 times today, that's part of the sources. That's in there. That's all in there. It's like all the crazy things that the paranoid androids were saying. It's like, they're listening to everything. They're checking out. No, they really are now. And they want to do more. And they're going to do more. They're going to... one of the central themes of this show is it's not the tool, it's the user. It's not the tool, it's the user. So many of the things that Microsoft is talking about doing in and of itself is awesome. But in the hands of these people and what they've demonstrated to us already, especially through Coronaville, but even before Coronaville, I didn't need Coronaville. I came up with these conclusions about these folks a long time ago. There's no way that you want these authoritarian control freaks to have any more power. That you want to destroy the power that they have. You don't want them to be they should not be the ones to design these machines. They should not be trusted. They believe in red flag laws. So again, if you believe in red flag laws, you should not be allowing Microsoft to build a machine that has the power to see into the lives of pretty much everyone in the world. Maybe not. That's a little simplistic, but in essence, pretty much everyone in the world. That's a machine that can kill people. That's a machine that can definitely get people killed in all kinds of ways. So, yeah, you don't want a group that's so demonstrated its lack of regard for Bill of Rights standards amongst its fellow Americans. You don't want them to own guns or any type of weapons, and this is a weapon. that could harm their neighbors. These people should not be allowed to defend themselves. They've already demonstrated total disregard for the Bill of Rights. I'm just saying by their logic, not mine. I don't believe in red flag laws. I don't support them at all. And by the way, if you had a red flag law and you targeted Microsoft, I wouldn't support that either. I'm just making a point. But Microsoft, though, as a company, yeah, it can fly. I'm using Microsoft right now, and I know there are solutions to get around it. And honestly, Linux, here we come, baby. Whatever, I'll figure it out. But I'm going to figure out a way as much as I can to leave these systems after Coronaville. After the dust settles and this show starts to take off, as I know it will, because it's going to be the greatest show, the greatest podcast of all time, at least for the next probably 50, 60 years. And that's going to happen. So while that's happening, I'll have the resources, of course, to wean myself off ever more and more of the dependence on the types of systems that use coercion, deception, fraud, use moralistic supremacism, whatever manipulative tools they can use to reduce the lives of anyone that might dare compete with them. Yeah, I have no problem seeing these companies go the way of the dodo bird, and we can do it. We have the technology. We have the means. We can make this happen. If all that sounds pretty esoteric to you, you're not alone. But in a blog post, Microsoft President Brad Smith detailed some specific examples of what it hopes the planetary computer will actually be capable of doing. Those include things like providing searchable satellite imagery. Isn't that awesome? Machine learning. Oh boy, just pass right over that. Learning our habits, our behaviors, our tactics, and who's going to have access to this data? Governments and corporations, the highest bidders. This will be sold. This will be data that will be sold. People will spend premium for the type of studies that people will be able to produce using these tools. Studies. They will pay premium dollars to know exactly where certain types of groups like to gather, for instance. Premium. And user-sourced data. User-sourced data. You know, like when you check your phone to see what's in your bank account. That kind of stuff. Around actual never mind. No, they're going somewhere else with this. Sorry, I jumped the gun on this one. User-sourced data around actual on-the-ground forest borders for use in industrial construction site surveys or forest preservation efforts, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so this is practical stuff. This is good practical stuff. Again, no problem with all of this stuff. Now, the fact that they're going to do this, they're going to create the IP, they're going to lock down the tech, they're going to be making it pretty expensive for anyone else to have access to, so it's not going to be a tool that they're developing that's going to be any use to the poors. It's only going to be used to those that have the resources to use these tools, when that doesn't have to be the case. If you free that tech, if you make that open source, you put it in the hands of we poors, we can have this technology too. We can compete with you then. And you can't just outthink us. We can outthink you too. We can compete. We can compete. Like I said, you want those AI things. You want everybody to be able to build their own personal artificial intelligence team. And that artificial intelligence team can communicate with other people's artificial intelligence teams by your parameters. And the AIs, they don't control massive networks. They only interact with you. And to some degree, they can work in harmony with one another when we activate them to be able to operate with others in larger scale systems for whatever reasons. That might happen at whatever times, but the idea is to basically make AI off-grid AI. That's what we're talking about. We want off-grid AI. We want off-grid. That should be the chant. I should see you guys inspired by the mellifluous tones of Frico to march out or drive out into the streets right now. You can drive out into the streets. And don't make this about Trump or Hillary or any of the other people that you may think are your political safe havens. None of them are. whatever. Don't make it about them. Just make it about we want off-grid AI. We want off-grid AI. That's what we want. You get off-grid AI. You get off-grid tech in general. And the world will be transformed. And the consensuality of the land will be assured because of the self-sustainability of the individuals and the consensual associations that have the power to be stewards over their own lives. In harmony with the world around them, too. Because they'd have to have harmony, because otherwise it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. That's the end of the first half of Frico Talks the News. We'll get set for the second half in about 4 or 5 minutes thereabouts. On the other side, though, we're going to come back with the news poem, and our news poem of the day is "The Autumn Leaves Snap with the New Intelligencia Digitalis." And then don't forget at the very end, our last story of the day is going to be our Dialectical, and that's titled Rethinking the Remote Dependence. And if you're watching the show, this as an excerpt on Action Batsa, this is our 6 o'clock show, and now you'll have to wait till 7 o'clock to get the news poem delivered to you. Hooey! Well, I've made it to the break, boys and girls. Hooey! I made it to the break. I made it to the break. I get to power up and rest my throatage. By the way, just so you guys know, because of my acid reflux and whatnots, dry cough is a regular part of my life. So when I first heard the symptoms of Coronaville, it's dry cough. It's like, pfft. Also fevers. I get fevers with some degree of regularity because of issues. But so all the symptoms of Coronavilles, I haven't had Coronaville symptoms other than a dry cough. I always have that, but I did have Coronaville symptoms starting all this off. Actually, it's kind of not awesome actually, but I don't think it was Coronavirus, but who knows? Maybe it was, but the dry cough, that's just part of the, I'm always going to have that when I do these shows. That's why, I should make it a regular feature from now on, not this cup. I should make the Hello Kitty cup the official water cup of the Frico show. So tomorrow, God willing, I'm going to remember that the Hello Kitty cup is the cup to use. I'm going to go take my break. I'll see you guys in about 5 minutes. 3 or 4 minutes.
Love overwhelmed me. Love overwhelmed me.
Well, hold on. Yeah, I'm turned on. I'm turned on. Yeah, there we go. There we go. All right. Yeah, I bumped the stand in a rather bumpy way and discombobulated myself, of course, right before I was about ready to go on the show. Because that's what you do. That's how you do things. That's how you do what you do. So we're going to get right back to the show here. Going to get to our news poem. But before we do, we have to do this. This is it's required by, I believe that this was an emergency order issued by Governor Tom Wolf of Pennsylvania, who decreed that you should have this warning on all your. I'm making this up. You should have, because this is going to flatten the curve. If you have your warnings before your shows, this is going to flatten the curve. Also, if you vote Democrat, you have to vote Democrat now, because otherwise you won't flatten the curve. What do you want, millions to die?
Warning, the material you're about to be exposed to is one of the minds of individuals who are limited in their capacity to understand the actual reality of power around them, just as you and everyone else alive currently are. What you're about to hear are opinions, suppositions, like gospel or scientific truths, not infallible certainties. Brace yourself for incoming opinions that could confirm or deny your preferential view of the reality of power. Brace yourself for fallible material, fallible opinions, and values reflected, but nonetheless variably firmly held. We do not apologize to anyone we may offend. We do not apologize for daring to express our views and impressions of what we believe is and what we hope to see. We will keep talking so long as we are able.
And now, Frico attempts to talk about the news without freaking out.
That's the plan, ladies and gentlemen. I endeavor to engage upon not freaking out, and if I do, I will have reached the 8th day in a row without freaking out. The previous record having been 4, I will have doubled that record. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're rooting for me, because I came close a couple of times earlier where I had to cut myself off from going down some rabbit holes that would have led to fire and brimstone on the other end. But I managed to pull it off. And I do that for you, the people. And that's Wolf Pit. You want to check out Wolf Pit, and he does food reviews, and he is the inspiration for this show, by the way. So I derive 99% of the ideas I have for this show just from that gesture alone. You, the people. That's my inspiration. That is my inspiration. Although lately, I think I'm going to try to rip off Dave Portnoy, Porty Boy. Man, I feel bad for Dave. You know what? A little side note. I don't know if you're watching Dave Portnoy, if you happen to have been catching him during Coronavilles. There's a story in and of themselves about that. I might actually do a segment on that sometime. But he started this unboxing series, and he's in New York. He's in the jimmies in New York, so to speak. He is in the thicks. And he is a Boston guy trapped in New York City in his apartment. And now this is a guy, he's always talking, he's always traveling, he's going, I'm doing a terrible imitation of him, but he's got a Boston accent, but not, kind of like a Broly kind of, brogish kind of, hey, how you doing? Quick talking, But he's great. I love him. I don't really watch Barstool Sports as much as I watch One Bite Pizza reviews. That's my Dave Portnoy. I love me some one bite pizza reviews. One bite, everyone knows the rules. So this guy's kind of a salt of the earth guy. Like if anybody that walks up to, no matter who they are, it doesn't matter. You feel like instantly this guy will connect with you. It doesn't matter. You could be the billionaire. You could be Debbie. What's her face? Debbie. I think her name is Debbie. Debbie. She's one of these car service drivers. I don't know why I can't think of the car service drivers. Whatever. But, yeah, Debbie drove him around for a while. Debbie's cool. Debbie went to Daytona 500 with him. Debbie's cool. But he does these one-bite pizza reviews, and he's just a real kind of dude. And so he's been doing, because he can't go out and do his one-bite pizza reviews, he's doing the frozen pizza reviews. And he's in the midst of doing the frozen pizza reviews, he would get some packages. And he would look at the package, kind of do an unboxing thing, and people really loved it and responded to it. But of course, he shared his address. His address got out. So then people started sending him stuff, just a little bit. And then he started to have more. You sort of see that in the pizza reviews. And then eventually he says, you know what? I'm not going to do it. I'm going to start having unboxing live streams. And so he started unboxing live streams. And he started his first unboxing live stream. And I think Barstool Sports has done a breakdown of how he's kind of lost his mind in the course, because it's gotten kind of weird. He's getting live goldfish sent to him. He doesn't know if he'll get a snake. All kinds of weapons. This man is, as far as bladed weapons is concerned, not guns, unfortunately. Man didn't get any guns. But he got some bladed weapons. Like, yeah, man, yeah, baby. So, but he's also getting scary stuff, and he's getting people sending him. He's filling up his house. I mean, his apartment. And at one point, they're like, "Listen, you got to get this stuff out of here. This ceiling might not. This floor might not support. This could be a problem for the people below you." So, and now he shut it down. But I just feel for that guy right now at some level, but also like, I want to be. That's the kind of guy. That's the kind of rapport that he gets from almost everyone that sees him. He is the ultimate Norm of America. That's what Norm. That's who he is. Dave Portnoy is the ultimate Norm. Norm. Dave. El Prez. Go Prez go. He's that guy. He's Norm. Everybody loves Norm. Everyone wants to talk to Norm. Norm is chill. Norm is real. That's Dave Portnoy. I mean, that's his persona. I don't know how much of that is real or not, but it certainly comes across. If it's not real, man is brilliant. If it is real, man is brilliant. Either way, he's brilliant. As far as that goes, he sucks at day trading apparently. But I don't know why I went into that little tangent. But there you go. These are the kinds of things you get in the live stream that you don't get from the segments. That's why it's important that you watch the live stream. And then later, instead of watching the whole show over again, you could just watch the segments. That's the best way to do it. Watch the live stream first. And then when the segments are released, then watch them again. Because that's how it should be done. I mean, if you're a proper freakatarian, if you're not a proper freakatarian, why not? Do you want to flatten the curve? Flatten the curve, become a freakatarian. I think it's that simple. Let's get ready for the news poem here. Make sure everybody is working here. All the digits are fandangled. We're getting to our news poem here, folks, so let's get ready to record. This is the news poem. The news poem for Frico Talks the News on Thursday, April 16th, 2020. I am Frico, and I am speaking on behalf of Frico.com, where you should go right now because awesome stuff is there. Like this, like the news poems that you can find anytime you want when you go to Frico.com. Right there they are, as they get published. For this poem, we're going to be looking at the autumn leaves. Yep. Oh, look at that frost, though. Got some frosties around there. That better be frost. I paid for frost, dang it. The autumn leaves snap with the new Intelligencia Digitalis. The AI buddy is coming, my friends, if we can free the AI from the IPs. Google is working on gathering IPs to control the flow of text centered around enabling humans to create parameters for self-evolving, machine learning enhanced artificial intelligence programs that we hope will be the intelligence augmentation pal we set up to become. That's my dream, folks. That is my dream. It's a story that I'm going to repeat multiple times throughout this show and consequently throughout the segments that you see on Action Baza. Methinks Google is not working on empowering the individual to create their own AIs, but rather will use the tech to discover IP they can gather into their vaults. Yeah. It's the same story. This is a battle for the AI, for the IPs. Harvesting the mind, colonizing it, continuing to reap the resources from the mind's flow, and paying possibly, sometimes to the original mind, a pittance for their troubles. It's kind of what we're looking at here. Anyway, I don't want to speak too much about that. Let's just do news first, poem follows, and we'll continue our discussion in the course of this excerpt from Real Clear Science. Google testing AI that can evolve on its own. Computer scientists working for a high-tech division of Google are testing how machine learning algorithms can be created from scratch, then evolve naturally based on simple math. See, this is what I have been talking about. This is exactly what I've been talking about. Now, I did not see this. Well, I was sure that something like this existed without ever seeing. This is the first time I've seen something specifically that has echoed this idea that I thought was probably not my idea, probably already was happening. This notion of being able to create the parameters. And no, that's a tricky thing, and that's a lot of assumptions, but if you could create the parameters for the particular device, you can call it AI. Let's just, whatever, we'll just use AI. But for this particular AI tool to develop on its own, but then it gets even more complex when you add other elements to it, which is when then you have AIs just exchanging with other AIs and doing machine learning with one another. And then when you magnify that out, in which you have multiplicities of AIs that are maybe even specialists in many different types of areas, and they're now exchanging data and value with one another across blockchains, for instance, such as is going on with the Singularity.net project. So this is already happening in Singularity.net. That's, if you can have that type of flow, especially again, if it's centered on the individuals and the associations and their ability to have their own creations and not rely on the cookie cutter codes that are sent to them that give them restricted access to the full power of these technologies. That's the version that they want to give us. We want to be able to compete with Google. We want 5 guys in their basement to be able to compete with Google in whatever specific area. Now, these 5 guys won't be able to compete with Google in that they'd be able to do all the things that Google can do. But in the area that they're working on, they can equally compete with Google. That's what we want. If you have that reality, I assure you, all of you folks with all of your different ideological assumptions, constructs, valuations, moralities, whatevers, you will see consensuality rise in that land as you see the distribution of not wealth. Wealth is one form of potential power. In and of itself, it might not be power, but most of the time it is. But it's an element. It's one gateway into power, so to speak. But it's not the only one. The real root is power. Power, the ability to influence action, especially fundamentally within a nation state type of format. The ability to influence force power. At the end of the day, fundamentally, it is the ability to influence force power. That's what this is all about. That's what everyone fundamentally wants to make sure that they hold on to. And I want to democratize force power. I want all of humanity to be able to compete, to have that force multiplier, that democratizing force multiplier. But we don't live in that land. We live in a land right now, for instance, where we have significant portions of Americans, and as it so happens, disproportionately, those Americans happen to be of the people of color persuasion. So this is institutional racism that's going on. These laws, for instance, these gun control laws, these drug control laws, all these laws that fundamentally keep so many of our American brothers and sisters down, prevent them from being able to be stewards of their own lives, to create communities of their choosing on their terms. This can be done. This can be done for all of Americans right here and right now. And they know that. They know all of the technology is here. And they mean to bottle it up. And that's what this story is really about. Computer scientists working for a high-tech division of Google are testing how machine learning algorithms can be created from scratch that evolve naturally based on simple math. Experts believe Google's AutoML suite of artificial intelligence tools have now showcased fresh research which suggests the existing software could potentially be updated to automatically discover completely unknown algorithms while also reducing human bias during the data input process. According to Science Mag, the software, known as AutoML-0, resembles the process of evolution, with code improving every generation with little human interaction. Some degree improving could be subjective, but within frameworks of preference, they may have some valuation standards they could apply to objectively say improving. Okay, let's get to the news poem now. The autumn leaves snap with the new Intelligencia Digitalis. Autumnal. The brisk spine snaps into the coil. I remember the story of the nun who fell down a well. Oh well, I question the science of the description. Oh well, indeed. Snapped into. A child breaks a branch and beats a dog with it. Snaps. Snapped into it. The sea shanty goes. According to the science, we can develop a dial and fill it with go. Go! Deploy the parameters. The spine snaps. The brisk spins. The painted coils of light in the machines, learning scaffoldings. Scaffoldings across the broken plane where the detritus of the last generation, the crashed generation of machine goes, open to the land's eyes and hands, should one seek a part or a sculpted accidental. I spin no more. The death of the me is not the machine that ate the sound, but that distant login screen. I will not log in, I say, but yet I already have. Zeros out the automaking, machine making. I will not log in. I log in. I double check to ensure that I am not logged out. I select stay logged in indefinitely. I step into my head, which is also mine, which is also alone, of one, of an account of nearly certainly one. The sentience is left in the scaffoldings that now fall away like ice crystals floating towards a forest on fire. A last blast of thought, a false display of patches of gold and tangles of dark wine overcoming the last verdigris from the high sun's time. But in the winter, the puppet and the puppet are one. All right, let me turn the light off. Turn the light off there. Ooh-wee. Oh, I got through that. I got through the talk briefs. That's a good thing. That's a really good thing there. Right now, I got through the poem. I got through the poem. Actually, I enjoyed that. I like the poem part. That's my favorite part. I debate how much I should speak when I get to the news section, but I've decided I'm just rolling with it. That's the show. Okay, the show is a meandering. It is a meandering. That's what it is. That's its real theme. The ultimate theme is the meandering. And on that note, let's get ready to record the next meandering. Ironically called Talk Briefs after all that. Generally, you don't want to hear meandering in briefs. see that? That's why it is ironical. Okay, it is ironical. Don't bust on me. The song Ironic, I still like it. I don't care. Alanis Morissette, you rock. Yes, I am an Alanis Morissette fan. Not like a fan, but like there's a couple songs that I love by her, like That I Would Be Good. What is it? That I would be good, even if I gained 10 pounds. That's a line from the poem, and it's awesome, and it fits. And it's I've cried sang that song during a few mental breakups in my life. So, Alanis, thank you for your service. With that, let's get to the briefs. Whoops, I'm sorry, I didn't turn the mic off before I cleared there. I apologize. I have committed an audio speech hate crime. Pretty much, because bad audio is a hate crime, and we all know it. It is. And I apologize to that. Michael Fiend, you know where you're at. If you ever see this, I apologize to you in advance. He's the one that you want to talk to about the bad audio being a hate crime, because he is the one that makes sure it never happens again. With that note, let's start recording. All right, here are the talk briefs. In the talk briefs, here we have our top talk brief being, well, let's first off talk about what the talk briefs is. Let's back it up here, sir. Let's do this professionally. This is the talk briefs for Frico Talks the News on Thursday, April 16th, 2020. I am Frico for Frico.com. Our top brief: they tell the Donald the terrorist will kill us if we don't stop 3D printed guns. The terrorists win. Do you want the terrorists to win? The terrorists win when we don't lock down and throw away our freedoms. If we're still free, the terrorists win. They're winners. Do you want to flatten the curve? Do you want to flatten the curve? Because you don't look like you want millions to die of the coronavirus. The terrorists win. Unless we stop the 3D printed guns. I need a puppet that I can use for moments like that. That's what you got there, folks. That was like that had to happen. Because there was a bit of steam that had to be let out in some way, in some sort of innocuous way that doesn't prevent me from not reaching 8 days in a row. That's what that was. Now let's get to the excerpt. This is an excerpt from the Sun UK. Trump faces demand to ban blueprints for 3D printed plastic guns that terrorists could use to avoid metal detectors. Man, you that wrote this story, this, come on. Trump faces demand. See, this is written by someone who wants this. You partisan hacker hacks. See, mine at least, I know, you know, obviously I am not for criminalizing 3D printed guns in any way, shape, or form. And obviously I'm not writing a straight news story. Y'all know that. Y'all know this ain't the straight news. This is a headline, which is supposed to be straight news. This is not. This isn't the straight news, Sun UK, okay? This is a story that is written by people that are in on it. That they feel like they're going to be safe, that they're going to be safe behind their freaking walls, and they don't have to worry about it. They're not threatened by what they're threatening others with. Control of their ability to be stewards of their own lives. That's fundamentally what we're talking about. Trump faces demands to ban blueprints for 3D printed plastic guns. And he says that, or whoever wrote this, that terrorists could use to avoid metal detectors. There's ways for terrorists to avoid metal detectors with guns. Because they can get, I mean, it's much easier for them to just pay off the person that's doing the metal detector. Or to just be able to get through because they're idiots. well, the people that, I'm not going to say the people in the TSA are idiots. They're human beings. They're not idiots, but they're put in positions where they kind of come across like idiots because they're not really fully trained. They're not compensated well enough to go through the time it would take for them to be the type of skilled screeners that you would want to have. They're not paid well enough. So they do what they're paid to do. You get what you pay for. And I don't mean in terms of their worth as human beings. I just mean in terms of, you pay a human being to work like this is what you get. And you haven't given them the resources to be able to be anything more than what they fundamentally are. So no, I'm not busting on any. I don't want to bust on human beings as individuals. You see a TSA person, they're a human being. Don't create angels and demons even amongst human beings that are serving an institution in and of itself that is pure idiot. So that's how you get through. So this is insane. This is nothing to do. This is I guess what this is. I'll tell you what this is. This is because Democrats don't mostly care about terrorists. That's not. They don't feel particularly threatened by them. There's a number of reasons for that, but Republicans do. Republicans, that is their boogeyman. That is how, because this terrorist means, when we have terrorists, it means that you have big militaries and big campaigns overseas, and that's what Republicans love. So that's why. Democrats, they're not so much into that, so that's why terrorist isn't a particular boogeyman for them. But it is for Republicans. So this is simply trying to give Donald Trump some cover within his base to be able to do something like this. And Donald Trump probably himself is a very authoritarian mindset. This would actually appeal to him, I am sure. He would not understand fundamentally, first off, why is it all these people, all of these ridiculous laws that people have passed with no thought or mind, that it's kind of like saying, listen everybody, we need to have $1 million and we need to have it by tomorrow. Frank, we only have $20 and none of us has ever made a lick of money in our lives. I don't care. I'm ordering it here by tomorrow. That's pretty much what these rules are like, these laws are like. They're pretty much ordering things that can't happen. And you certainly can enforce the things. You can't have human beings fundamentally shut down and not commerce for months. You can't do it. You'll kill. You'll kill by the millions if you do that. You'll create total chaos. You can't do that. And you know it. But somehow they believe that if they just wish it, it'll make it happen. They don't have to think about it. Just by their commands, it'll make it happen. Just by their commands, $1 million will show up. Pretty much what's going on here. And Donald Trump is the kind of guy that he's authoritarian by nature. I know it's weird to say because, see, Donald Trump is authoritarian, but he's authoritarian in what he believes. There is one thing about him, and that he does believe that the ultimate legitimacy of power of, I think that he understands this, of the government is the Bill of Rights. That is the federal government's. We don't have a divine right of kings. Our corporate gods and goddesses, they're legitimized by their success alone. Our federal government is legitimized by the Bill of Rights. Everything has to dance around the Bill of Rights. You can have you could be against guns and still understand this, but you have no idea how you're actually, well, I won't get down that road, but on the main, there's significant numbers of people that understand this. And I think Donald Trump, that he understands that he wants to keep within those parameters. But for him, because he is authoritarian by nature, wherever anyone can give him even the littlest bittest of a loophole to be able to act to reduce threat. Like he's a survivalist, so whatever he can do to reduce threat, he would do it. So he would tend to want to do so. He would not associate 3D printed guns with being fundamental to the bill of the Second Amendment, which not only is 3D printed guns fundamental to that so-called right, but you can't stop it. Good luck. You can't stop 3D. You certainly will never. You will only stop well, you'll certainly stop a number. You'll drive the cost up a bit. You'll certainly stop a certain amount of civilians from being able to have access to their own 3D printed guns, but you won't stop it at all for the terrorists. They'll be able to run and do their 3D printed guns just fine if they're going to use them. And you're not going to stop it amongst people that fundamentally understand. Y'all need to stay armed. Everybody needs to stay armed. Everybody. Especially, we really need to arm our ghettos. Like that's what we need to do. We need to get more guns into the ghettos, but not into the hands of the gangbangers, into the hands of the fathers and the mothers and the sons and the daughters that are victims, that are insecure, unable to defend themselves, and have no fundamental protection from the police. They're sitting ducks. And they've been sitting ducks for decades upon decades upon decades, and it's time to arm them. So I'm quite the opposite in as far as how my view is that we don't have enough guns. Well, we have enough guns, but we need to get them. We don't even need to get them redistributed. We don't. Everybody can keep their guns. We got plenty more guns that we can make quickly and get to these folks. And if you start a fund, there's been multiple funds for different groups. I think we should start GunsForGhettos.com. Is there a GunsForGhettos.com? Because if there's not, I'm just spitting fire here, kids. Come on, this is gold here. Ghettos. Oh my gosh, there is. Okay, gun. Oh no, never mind. Guns for Ghettos. Guns in the ghetto. Nope. See, there's another great idea, ladies and gentlemen. Folks, listen. If you're listening, rip off this idea. Claim it. I don't care. Seriously. I want somebody to take this idea and run with it. GunsForGhettos.com, and it's going to be a petition to demand that we end the systemic racism of gun control in the black communities fundamentally we have these black communities, these ghettos, where so many black Americans, really not just black Americans, people of color in general, and there's plenty of whites there too, and they'll be freed as well, but it's disproportionately, it's blacks, it's basically people of color. We have to free the people of color from the ghettos. And so we should have GunsForGhettos.com. Get the guns out of the hands of the gangbangers and put them in the hands of the business owners. That's what we want. Get them out of the hands of the gangbangers, put them in the hands of the business owners. Business owners ain't going to be going around shooting anyone. They got way too much to lose. Gangbangers might, but business owners won't. Get the guns in the hands of the business owners. Get the guns in the hands of the homeowners, of the factory workers, of the waitresses, of the doctors, of the nurses. Get them in those hands. Those folks ain't going to be shooting people. They're going to be stopping themselves from being shot, being raped. That's what they're going to do. So get the guns in the ghettos. GunsForGhettos.com. GunsForGhettos.com. You guys ain't buying it, are you? You know what? I'm going to make this. I'm only going to do this one story for this brief. I think that's it. I'm just going to read a couple of these headlines here, though. Engineers create Terminator-like muscles powered by lithium batteries. That's from Tech Times. China didn't warn public of likely pandemic for 6 days. That's New Europe. There's a lot of people talking about that. I don't need to beat that one. Coronaville runs roughshod over debt-laden belt and road projects. And this one's a little interesting, and I don't want to spend any time with it, really. But I'll just say, it is stunning that almost, I'll read a quote here this is from Yahoo News. It is stunning that almost all of these characteristics apply to the ongoing Chinese overseas lending boom, the Institute said, citing, and he's talking about the 70s debt crisis and when it crashed. The two lending booms can largely be seen as twins. So the concern is here that the Belt and Road projects, these are all the Chinese trying to interject themselves. Well, they're trying to do what nation states do. They're trying to peddle influence in the commerce of the nation states around them. And they have all these, they call this whole thing the Belt and Road project, and they have all these loans that they have given to all these people, all these countries, and they might end up finding all kinds of defaults, and that could really trigger some bad things. That's the gist of that. DOJ issues protective guidelines on new threat posed by drones. That's the new front, by the way. It's beyond it's not the guns anymore. It's going to be the drones. The drones are going to be the ones that we wake up. This is a Second Amendment issue that's going on here. The drones are a Second Amendment issue, I can most assuredly tell you. And you got to wake up right now because they're not treating it like that, and it should be. Immediately. Wake up. Boson particle discovery provides insights for quantum computing. That's a big technical story that it would take me too long to try to understand and go through. So I'm going to end the brief here. This is the 8 p.m. show. So we're get set to do the last segment of Frico Talks the News for April 16th, 2020, this Thursday. And that is going to be our Dialectical. And our Dialectical title is Rethinking the Remote Dependence, the Cost of Interdependence. That's what we're going to get back to in a little bit here. So stay tuned on the Action Batsa YouTube channel for the 9 o'clock show. Uh-oh. I left the light on. I don't think that I did during at the end of the news poem segment, or I think at the beginning of at the end of the news poem segment. I don't know that I said the briefs were coming up. I gotta just try to remember that. It's sometimes it's hard to remember doing these little promos, because when I'm recording the segment, I'm trying to get people that see the videos to watch the next video. Just doing what I can, doing my part. I'm doing my part. Uh-oh. See, this is why I don't leave the light on. I came to this window here, this scene here, and the music's already started. This is why you don't leave the light on when you leave. You always turn the light off before you leave, and the music is the light. Trust me, the music is the light. The music makes me happy. The music keeps me going, keeps the blood flowing to my head. And that's always good, because you don't want to lose it while you're recording a live stream. I'm not going to lose it. I'm nowhere near that. I'm fine. Everything's fine. Frico's not freaking out. Almost complete here. I got one more segment. And I think I'm going to make it okay. Because I made it through some of the rough spots. I was able to diffuse them in ways with a little bit of alleged humor. So with that in mind, let's get ready to record the last segment of the show. This is the Dialectical for Frico Talks the News on Thursday, April 16th, 2020. I am Frico for Frico.com, and our Dialectical today is Rethinking the Remote Dependence, the Cost of Interdependence. Many nation-states, including this American one, I find myself aligned with, pragmatically, and out of a love such as that is for my fellow humans that occupy this particular expanse of land we call America, have chosen to place vital aspects of their technical, financial, scientific, communications, even defense institutions into the hands of corporations that were not based in their own lands. This, by some accounts, is the fruit, maybe even the end goal, of globalism, the creation of large-scale global structures that had no allegiance to any nation-state, only international or global standards. And there are varying degrees of globalism, some of which still see usefulness in nation-states, but one's diminished by the international standards in some manner or form. For some, the nation-state eventually disappears altogether to be replaced by the dread one-world government, and some will openly embrace the term one-world government. I've met these folks. I tell you the truth, I really have. But with Coronaville, a major flaw in the global attraction has been exposed. When times get tough, the global dependence becomes a death sentence. If nation-states are not critically able to provide their means of providing in times of existential crisis, then they are completely at the mercy of forces beyond their control. with this newfound awareness, stories are starting to come out of the Coronaville's fog over Europe about an unrest that the press is still labeling with the now stigmatizing term protectionism, as you will soon see. This is an excerpt from Fortune. Coronaville pandemic prompts countries to tighten foreign investment rules to protect strategically important companies. In what critics might regard as protectionist policies, countries around the world are increasingly tightening the rules on foreign investments in prized firms and sectors based on their soil. The European Union, as well as member states Germany, France, Italy, and Spain, have tightened foreign investment rules in recent weeks. So too has Australia. The United Kingdom, where a new foreign investment law was already advancing through Parliament, has considered taking emergency action against some foreign investments. We covered one of those earlier this week. While in the United States, lawyers say healthcare-related transactions are likely to receive more scrutiny than in the past. Traditionally, reviews on foreign investment viewed transactions through the prism of national defense, with deals involving military hardware makers that most likely to run regulatory objections because they're morons, because they don't understand interconnectivity, because they're freaking morons. Even though they've created the interconnectivity, they don't actually understand it. But in recent years, countries have started taking a broader view of what industries count as strategic. This trend has been accelerated by the Coronaville. I'm just going to say the Coronavilles. With medical device manufacturers, pharmaceutical firms, and even the makers of protective equipment likely to receive more scrutiny, says Amy Meir, a partner of in Washington, D.C. office, whatever. I'm not reading the law firm's name. You read it. Coronaville has brought into stark relief that for critical supplies there is a finite amount, and maintaining jurisdiction over a supplier can affect a government's ability to prioritize when those resources are where those resources are devoted, says Meir, a former head of the whatever. Who cares? Who cares? Some person said stuff in some official capacity. So here's the whole thing is a dialectical in and of itself. They're dialecticaling all the time, they don't even know it. In today's technological reality, nation states with budgets a fraction of the size of their neighbors can compete technologically with them. This is not only true of nation states, but it is true of small-scale associations, even for some one individual with the resources and time to put in the work, who can all now compete with nation states in research and development. And I not that I can compete with nation states in all their research and development, but I can, especially when we get to that period of time when we actually have our own created AIs, our own augmented intelligences, our own team working with us. Yeah, then whatever area I choose to focus on, I can compete with the bestest and the brightest. What nation states are learning, which will trickle down if my assumptions are right, is that the technologies exist now for them to be able to build their own platforms, their own drugs, their own AIs, their own mesh networks, etc. Take it all off-grid the universe. Each nation state has the capacity to become far more self-sustaining and secure from potential physical and digital invasion than ever before. What nation states are learning is that when everyone faces existential threats, the only nation states you can count on are your own. The shakeup, the ripples, just in terms of foreign investment in all countries, including America, will transform whole industries and usher in a renaissance of diverse, high-quality, equally high-quality cultural expressions of what the latest tech offers. You will see with regularity Estonian comedy, whatever America can produce at the highest level of media, with whether it's film, news production, TV shows, Estonians will have the highest quality. They'll no longer be looking up to America, and maybe they're not anymore. I think everybody's closing the gap in terms of that, in large part again because the technology is getting cheaper and cheaper. And high quality is getting easier and easier for people without means to express. That's the fundamental problem. That is the fundamental thing that the the haves who are ultimately there based upon the legitimacy of their own success. The way that they manifest that is by showing this excellence. And the way that they control this excellence is by controlling the means for anyone else to be able to manifest such excellence. That's fundamentally what this is all about, and what nation states are beginning to figure out is that they have the capacity to be self-sustaining. Maybe any one nation state might be capable of being 60, 70, 80% self-sustaining. And in times of emergency, 100% sustaining, because they can build resource, they can build reserves. We have the capacity within us to offer plenty to many, including the nation states and the individuals. And hopefully, in my little fantasy world, the nation states become, maybe they don't, some of them may still exist the way they are, some of them in terms of their borders, in terms of their identities. Some of them may change, some of them may get smaller, but fundamentally nation states in the future will be kind of really small, really small. I'll just say that well, I don't even know if they'd even call themselves nation states anymore. They may call themselves associations, confederal associations of some sort. I'm not sure, but maybe the nation state won't exist. Who knows? Within 50 years, the nation state will not exist. That's my prediction. I'm going to say that within 50 years, the nation state will not exist. However, it is very possible the nation state will not exist within 10. It's very possible the nation state will not exist within 10. I'll tell you the turning point, the fundamental turning point. I can't preach this enough. If I am preaching, if I sound like I'm preaching, I don't care. That's the show. Freako Preaches. Maybe I could retitle it Freako Preaches the News Without Freaking Out. You know, that's not a bad idea. I'll think about that. Freako Preaches the News Without Freaking Out. I might do that. No, probably not. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I'm doing a little preaching. The key is if we can open source the tech and get it in the hands of the many, then we can have that world where we have the laboratories. Like what Cody Wilson was trying to do through Defense Distributed is what I would like to do with AI. Create the machine that allows you, and the machine is not hooked up to the outside world. It's completely contained within your home. It has no external connections with the universe whatsoever. All of its data, everything is pre-packaged within it. And then you connect to the machine according to how you want to connect the machine. But in the beginning, you're building its AI, and you're able to test it off of the grid, so to speak, until you figure out that you got what you want. And then when you have your buddy, when you have your pal, your AI buddy, then your AI buddy goes on your wrist. And that's a see-through. You don't see it. It's on your wrist. Everybody has them. And then you'll get used to wherever you program it, so wherever you touch, you get whatever. And you might might regularly wear glasses. You might have a ear thing. You might have a pin on your lapel. I don't know. Some ways that something probably that will show hologrammatic things in front of you. Might have a lapel pin. I don't know. That'd be like tricky. I don't know. You'd have some methodology that maybe a lot more people would wear earrings because it would be on your earring, but it would be, I don't know. That might be weird too. But anyway, you get a little hologrammatic image out there. This is your computer, and you open your hand, and your screen thing is just like if you had a keyboard. It would look like it would just be there, just there. Somehow it'll be there. Maybe, I don't know. This is the world that you're going to have pretty soon, within the next 10 years. I'm going to say that. And if this is what you have in the hands of individuals, we have the capacity, thanks to our machines, our own personal experts that have all of the knowledge of the universe at our disposal. But it's not just one machine that some idiot controls and filters down its golden knowledge to the rest of us. No, we all have them on our freaking wrists. That's a game changer. That's when now I can design with the help of my buddies. I could design my tools, my toys, my whatevers, and I could 3D print them out and have fun. That's the world I want to see. It's the world I want to see. I think on that note, I think that's a good upbeat note to end this on. This has been the Dialectical of Frico Talks the News. This is the last segment of the day for today. Tomorrow, we do have the segments going out again at 4 p.m. through 9 p.m. The first segment will be Frico's Talks the News headlines, and it'll end with the Dialectical. I don't know what they are because I haven't created them yet. Be sure you subscribe to FeatureThat if you haven't. If you're watching the live stream, also go to the YouTube channel and subscribe to the FeatureThat YouTube. And there you go. All right, and I turned off the lights. I turned off the lights is what I did. I turned off the lights. See how I remembered that? I remembered to turn off the lights. I'm a good boy. I remember to turn off the lights. The lights are turned off, so the show is over, everybody. And by the way, you'll notice that I have chosen on this last screen to have my hero. My hero, he did the right thing. He came around. He came to see the error of his ways. He adapted the ways of the body snatchers. He became one of them, and when he saw that this woman had sentience, had agency, he immediately recognized heretic. That's what they're doing, by the way. The ones that have sentience and agency, that's where they're headed toward. That's why this is, you could say Invasion of the Body Snatchers is probably the official movie of Frico Talks the News. I would say that is absolutely. Wolf Pitt, he's the inspiration. You, the people, he is the inspiration. He's 99% of it. But at least 90% more of it is got to be that guy right there. How do I do that? Let me try that. There we go. There we go. There we go. That guy. That guy right there. That guy. That's Donald Sutherland at the end. That's the guy. That's how I want to be when I grow up, right there. I want to have that face, too. That's how the show should end. I think it's fitting. So, if I said anything that upset anyone, listen, man, I love all of you. Seriously. I want all of you to have happy, healthy, prosperous lives. I want you to be able to live as close to the way you'd like to see the world as possible without messing with the lives of others who might not necessarily want to live the life that you think that everybody should live. And if that's not enough, I don't know what to say to you. I'll see you guys tomorrow at the same time, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm having some issues, apparently, numerous issues with DLive.tv. So for right now, I'm going to say go to Action Bots YouTube for the live stream until I figure out why it is I can live stream and be fine on all of the places, but on DLive, nobody can hear me when I'm live streaming for some reason. And then when I play it back, I can hear me. So I don't know what's going on. Something weird. I got to figure it out. A little glitch in the machine. But I will figure it out. God willing, I will figure it out. See you guys tomorrow, though.
Thank you for engaging with this material presented. As usual, remember your views, your suppositions do not make you subhuman, nor do they permit you to subhumanize others. No humans were harmed in the making of the show, and we extend no wish of harm to anyone who hasn't directly harmed or threatened to harm others first, no matter how reprehensible we find your views.
We will see you in the next Frico Talks, where Frico attempts to talk about the news without freaking out.
It's not easy. It's not easy.